Now, 2024 marks 23 years since the inaugural Kwanzaa Festival, organized by eBukhosini Solutions. Kwanzaa is a pan-African cultural celebration based on traditional first harvest ceremonies observed across the continent since antiquity. In South Africa, celebrations have grown into a movement where people from all walks of life unite through activities inspired by Black consciousness. Festival Organizing Committee member Nompumelelo Shabangu joins us for more. Nompumelelo, very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. I suppose I should begin with Happy Kwanzaa. I mean, we know that Christmas was celebrated on Wednesday, Hanukkah started on Wednesday night, and today Kwanzaa begins, a cultural holiday celebrated by millions of people across the world. Talk to us a little bit about it. What is it and how is it observed?
Really, really beautiful introduction there, and good evening to all the, the viewers out there at home. Matunde wa Kwanzaa. It's really observed in many ways. It's basically a 7-day festival, so guided by the Ngozi Usaba principles that it was founded upon. And of course, a lot of people always think of it as a overseas kind of festival that started in the diaspora. And as you said, it really was inspired around festivals around the continent. And so we are really going back emasiswini in terms of celebrating what we've always celebrated in this continent of ours that is so vast and diverse. And so it takes different forms. What is commonly known is the common table where people bring and share. It's really about bringing in the harvest of what you've farmed in your land, but also as in the contemporary space, as we've needed to change and go with the times, it's expanded to so many formats, where there's music, there's dance, it's a festival, there's poetry, there's stalls, there's food, there's clothing on sale made by African people. It's really a day of family, of unity, of gathering, of restoration, a day of so much celebration and remembrance. And so it's really observed in so many formats. And we are so overjoyed that today was the opening ceremony, which happened both here in Johannesburg as well as KZN.
There are some principles at the core of Kwanzaa, like unity and self-determination. How important is it to continue to reinforce these principles, and what are some of the others based upon?
Yes, these are principles really that anybody can live by every single day. So we don't just observe them during this period of the 7-day festivities, but in many homes they are adapted as a way of living and as a template, so to speak, to live prosperously and forward thinking as an African. And so in many ways, like this year, obviously, we were focusing mainly, the theme was on kujichagulia, which is self-determination, which really speaks to the essence of self-remembrance, self-celebration, naming yourself, celebrating who you are. And then the opening ceremony is around unity, which really calls to all Africans around the continent and diaspora to collectively come together and put efforts to continue the work that our ancestors started, and in the current state that we are, to find ways where we can unify and come around common goals to achieve certain objectives. And so in an everyday context, we can find many ways to do that.
You talk about how this was, perhaps the perception was that Kwanzaa was celebrated outside of South Africa, overseas, and perhaps in the US. But here you are uniting people through activities inspired by Black consciousness, that movement. How are you elevating or perhaps expanding on the narrative of Kwanzaa through conscientizing South Africans?
Yeah, I think it's really across the African continent, and I think this is also one of the days where many Africans across who live in South Africa, and we've got a big community of African people in this country, and so it's really one of those days where it's so beautiful to see us in one space, celebrating together and really coming around a common goal. And so in everyday living, I think Kwanzaa inspires us to think about the ways in which we can collectively connect and join forces in different aspects, guided by these principles, and in whichever way that you can within your community, which is also what we try to do during the 7-day festivities, to really focus on the different aspects of these principles. There's Ujima, which is around collective cooperation and work and economics. There's Imani, which is around faith. There's Kumba, which is around creativity. There's Nia, which is around purpose. And there's different workshops happening around those conversations. So it's really a great way to spark inspiration in the community and to find new ideas consistently to do things as a community.
Yeah.
So I think the spirit of Kwanzaa in that sense inspires us to say, we are here, we are current, we can work together and find new ways to be as Africans and continue the legacy of what our ancestors started. And as living ancestors, define our own way of living as we are. I'm here today with my son.
Yeah, I was actually about to say, I don't know how you're going to navigate around moving the toddler away, because it's almost impossible to separate yourself from a toddler who wants to share the limelight. But tell us very lastly, Nompumelelo, how this festival will take place, when it takes place, and some of the highlights of the 7 days.
The highlight today was really the opening ceremony, which took place at Lebu's Backpackers in Soweto. So that was a humongous one. We were also collaborating with Africology Institution in KZN. They also were hosting a festival today and tomorrow. And there's several more events that are taking place on the 28th. If you don't mind, I can just read out the details so that people can catch on to those. And if you can obviously manage to go, please do go through. On the 28th, we will be also celebrating at the Credo Motima village. So people can always bring and share, which is what the common table is about for those kind of festivities. On the 30th as well, we'll be at the eBukhosini home, the House of Royalty in Walkerville, having a dialogue there. And then on the 1st and on the 1st of January as well, we'll be having celebrations both in Johannesburg and KZN. As the closing, which is the final day, which focuses on Imani. And usually that one takes place on a farm, which is also really driving the point home of how important land is to our people as a spiritual base, as a way of reclaiming self and reclaiming so much of what we are, using the land and harvesting from the land and working with the land and being in communion with the land. And that one in the 1st of January is happening in Tojani Farm in the Northwest. We've also got one that will be happening in KZN, as well as the Eastern Cape. I think I forgot to mention them as well. They'll be having an event on the 28th. In the Eastern Cape. So it's really grown, this festival, from starting in Johannesburg to moving to other provinces as well. So we really are excited about how much of this message has spread and how much people are celebrating it in different provinces in their own way. And it's truly linked, as much as people think of it as a diasporan festival, it's really aligning to the festivals we usually have, Lana Mzansi, Umhosi, Umwala. So those are festivals that have always been celebrated here and inspired by that. And so this time is really that time to say, let's come together and celebrate once more.
Yeah, you are definitely a skilled toddler mother, being able to speak at the same time, get a few keys and move and listen to him. But thank you so much for your time as we round down our conversation. That, of course, was Festival Organizing Committee member Nompumelelo Shabangu talking to us about the importance of Kwanzaa.